Welcome to Between Two Coaches, a digital mentors podcast for visionary coaches, consultants, authors, and experts building purpose-driven businesses. I'm your host, Norbert Orlewicz, co-founder of Digital Mentors, and in every episode here, we're going to dive into real, unfiltered conversations with thought leaders, mentors, and catalysts who are reshaping the way that we teach, lead, and grow. Now, this episode is sponsored by our Digital Mentors Compass workshop. If you're a coach or an expert and you're struggling to stand out with your message and enroll enough clients consistently, this workshop, we built it for you. It's a strategic experience that combines expert mentorship with AI-assisted tools designed to simplify your message and sharpen your strategy. You're going to walk away with a personalized marketing roadmap built for your business, your goals, and your voice. You can grab a free ticket to the next live session at compassworkshop.com. Again, that is compassworkshop.com. All right, today's guest is Maïwen Harfouche. Maïwen is a bilingual life and language coach. She's an author, she's a podcaster and entrepreneur with over 8 years of experience supporting individuals in building confidence, navigating mental wellness, and stepping into leadership. She's the host of Me, Myself, and My 30s, a raw, authentic, and powerfully inspiring podcast about healing traumas, dating, and breaking generational patterns. With a focus on personal development in learning a new language and self-empowerment, she's passionate about helping people find their voice, thrive in their careers, and embrace entrepreneurship as a path to freedom and impact. Maïwen, welcome to the conversation. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to start with a bit of a deep question. I kind of like a thought-provoking question to get our conversation started here. And I believe that coaching is really all about transformation. And coaching and mentorship, I think, is one of the most honestly noble skills and professions that we can have because we have such an opportunity to impact people's lives. Now, why do you think that coaching and mentorship and even entrepreneurship is more important today than ever before, considering the state of the world and the society that we're living in?
Hmm, that's a very good question. Um, I think it's due to the fact that a lot of people now are trying to find um, a meaning in their lives, and we tend to realize also that work doesn't define us anymore. Like back in the day, like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people were defining themselves through their job, their work. And now, more and more, we tend to realize that our personality, our traumas, everything that shaped us as human beings, as men, women, is way more important. And we need to tell our story, and we need to also, I will say, have a like we need to find value in our personality and who we are. And a lot of people need to guidance. They need people who can also help them to voice out their emotions and their resilience and their path. So this is probably due to the transformation of work and our perception of the work industry. And so yeah, maybe it's related to that. Mhm.
Yeah, this is a fascinating and deep conversation, honestly. And I'm kind of in an interesting raw place right now because I have people very close to me that are dealing with, mental wellness
Mhm.
challenges.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting for somebody like myself who's been in the personal development space now for 20 years. And I see the power of personal development. I see the power of self agency when
Mhm.
you're able to take full responsibility for your emotions and your mindset and your physical body.
Mhm.
And I see that a lot of people are kind of trying to find their place in the world today
Mhm.
because of there's so much uncertainty. Industries
Mhm.
changing, economies changing, there's so many challenges, so much uncertainty. And I love what you said about that. I love what you said about finding value in their personality
Mhm.
because it seems like we've attached our personal value in the past
Mhm.
to our work,
Mhm.
to what we do, to our job, to maybe our family, to maybe our accomplishments or
Mhm.
achievements.
Mhm.
And yet, what you're saying here is that we can value just who we are as a human being. Is
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
really enough?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, true. It also stems from my own experience, finding my voice, and finding my voice starting inside, and it's a very personal work that some people cannot. I mean, not everybody can do it, so that's the reason why you need to reach out to a coach, to a professional to help you doing it. But this is not only about how you speak, or how you are perceived by the rest of the world, but this is also the way you perceive yourself. So this is a work that starts within, and it comes from, again, like, a lot of experience of life, and you need to let it go of a lot of things. You need to grieve a lot of things, um, in order to really find who you are
Mm.
professionally, but not only that, also personally. And that takes a lot of work, again, inside work, but it's really fulfilling at the end. And that's really the core of my job, also, and what I'm doing here. But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry,
I
I'm all over the place right now.
no, you're not. It's great. And I love having you on the show here because, we're two different generations. I'm turning almost 50. I'm of the Generation X, right? For you, I guess you would be considered a millennial.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things that when we talk about millennials and Gen Y, kind of the younger generations, is we talk about that they're not subscribing to the previous beliefs that we had about how important work is and industry and
Mm,
career and all that kind of stuff. I think your generation is not putting as much value into that. And I think that there's this
mm,
trend among young people to really search for meaning and value, sometimes in a world that feels kind of meaningless and pointless and hopeless in so many
mm,
ways. I want to hear about your story because I think your story is very reflective of the journey that so many young people at some point in their life are going to take. So you made a huge transition, picking up your life and moving from Paris to Canada to pursue your career. Can you share with us a little bit about that personal story, that personal journey and transformation that inspired you to make this big shift in your life?
mm. Yeah. So, maybe I can talk about when I started. So, in my early 20s, I was working as a language teacher in France. So, I'm French. I was born and raised in Paris. And I, I realized quickly, that it was never really about just grammar or vocabulary or just, teaching. It was all about confidence,
Mm,
identity, and I've coached a lot of people. I've done a lot of workshop in companies for CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, architects, lawyers, a lot of people, and I really noticed how safe people felt to be themselves in my sessions. And so people, like, they don't actually fear making mistakes. This is, I mean, their fear is being seen,
mm,
like, really being seen. And
mm,
so that's where I started to think about coaching. So I was 25 at that time. And so I built a business and coaching business from the ground up in Europe, in Paris. So I started in Paris. And then, so later on, I moved to Canada 2 years ago. And it wasn't just, like, I will say, a career decision, because I wanted to um, grow myself as a human being. I know that through this experience, because I didn't know anybody here. I came alone. Like, it was really, really hard at the beginning, because I had to reinvent myself. I had to rebuild myself, to rebuild a career, to rebuild a personality, to rebuild everything. Personally, not only that, but what I mean is, like, I grew, and and rebuilding myself taught me a lot of things, and about people that surround me, but also not only that, like, my career and what I can do to provide a better service here. So this is pretty much my story. Yeah.
mm. Now, I want to talk about the podcast. me,
Mm,
myself, and my 30s.
mhm,
It's sort of a reflective podcast. It's very raw. It's very authentic.
yeah.
I I listened to a couple of episodes just this morning. Like I said, I'm kind of in a raw state, so it almost brought me to tears. Honestly, just listening to your voice and hearing you be so authentic about your emotions and your experience, and
Mhm,
talking about things like loneliness and
mhm,
sadness and
mhm,
grief.
mhm. Yes, it feels like it's an open journal.
Yeah,
It was born from my life transition here with a lot of suffering. I like my suffering raw, what I like to say. I like to say that, meaning no distractions, no alcohol, no dating apps, no anything, just me, myself, and my emotions. And I felt like I wanted to share that with the world if that can help. A lot of people from my generation, but not only that, there's a lot of people, early in their 40s or 50s, or that can recognize themselves also in my journey. Life transitions is, I mean, everybody can get through this. So it comes from a messy chapter of my life, and I'm just starting, to feel better now. Um, I didn't want to give any advice. I'm not a guru. I just wanted honesty. I just wanted to talk to people as if they were my friends.
yeah,
And it's a space where um, identity, where emotions, where solitude is not taboo, where loneliness is not taboo. We're talking about entrepreneurship and like trying to be a businesswoman, and in the meantime grieving your family is not taboo, and it's fine, and it's okay. It's okay to feel both and to want both, and like to love your loved ones and miss them, and in the meantime think about yourself and being healthily selfish to try to build yourself in a new country. So it's all about that. And navigating your 30s nowadays is probably more complicating than ever, especially with the dating culture and the traumas. That it's very hard, but yeah, it feels like a self therapy to me, and I hope also kind of like a therapy to people that listen to my podcast. So yeah.
yeah, that's what it sounds like. It's a very personal journal, and I think it is very therapeutic to others. Just from me
Mm,
listening to just a few minutes of it, it was incredibly sort of relaxing and thought provoking, and it's powerful. It's a very different style of podcast, which I think can be
mm,
really really useful, and I think that authenticity is so important. You talk about you talk about the fact that this is lonely work, that this is work that you need to do on your own. And it's interesting because something that I've noticed, we have 4 teenagers that range from 16 now to 20, a couple of them in university, a couple of them still in high school. And one of the things that I appreciate about the new generation
mm,
is that they're so much more aware of
mm,
mental health issues,
mhm,
and so much more open to talking about these things.
mm,
However, I have a challenge with some of the approaches that I see. I'm politically speaking, I'm like a libertarian. So I really value self agency, self governance, and personal responsibility. Those are the things
mhm,
that I value. And I can see that you also understand how much this work is very personal. It's almost
mhm,
like no one can do it for you.
mhm,
People can help you along the journey. They can support you. They can give you the tools like a good coach or mentor or therapist, but they can't really do this work for you. And I
mhm,
find that some of the trends right now in the modern mental health space, we tend to outsource, give
mhm,
away some of our power because to these experts or to
mhm,
medications or to things like that, even to
mhm,
social media. We distract ourselves when we feel an emotion, when we feel something that we can't control, in our nervous system. I find a lot of people, and it's not just the youth, it's our
mhm,
generation as well. We
mhm,
go into distraction, we go into addiction, we go into
mhm.
distraction, we go on our phones, all these types of things. How do you work with people to get them to what you're talking about? go inside and sit with it, sit with the uncomfortability,
Mm.
sit with the emotions. What is that journey all about?
It's all about acceptance. We want to avoid what is, this sad part that we all have
We all
inside
have.
of us. And a lot of people define loneliness by something really negative, or I like to say that you're not alone, you're just on your own. And that is a massive difference. You're not alone, you're surrounded by people. When you're in the street, there's a lot of people around you. You have your family, you have your friends, neighbors. I mean, you're not alone, but you're just on your own, meaning like it's nobody will rescue you. That's true. Nobody will save you. You have to acknowledge your negative emotions, and you have to embrace it, and you have to try to understand it. Um, there's a lot, you're absolutely right. There's a lot also on social media, a lot of uh, influencers or professionals, also really good professionals that will give you advice on how to navigate loneliness. I will say I don't like to give advice on it because, again, it's a very personal journey. The only thing that I want to emphasize and what I'm doing with my clients in sessions is helping them to accept their condition in this season of their lives. Because also, it's a season. The way you feel right now, the way I felt when I arrived here in Canada, didn't define I mean, didn't define my future, or actually it makes me more stronger. It makes me stronger. And especially because I've decided, it was really hard, but I've decided to stay really on my own in a way that I was telling you previously, no distractions. I didn't try to find comfort into, I don't know, again, dating. I'm not saying that people who are doing it are like I'm better than them, not at all. But what I mean is that was my way to embrace who I was and what I can do with, um, this season of my life. And that was honestly the most beautiful lesson that I had, because I've discovered myself. I really discovered myself as a woman, as a professional, and what I was capable of after. And that is very powerful. And once you get that experience, I guess, nothing can stop you after.
Mm,
So yeah, the main thing that I will say is, and to people that reach out me and to have like help, I will tell them, yeah, you need to accept your condition. You're not doomed at all. Again, it's just a season, and you can get through this. And I feel like it's a blessing. To be honest, it's a blessing. Solitude has been one of my greatest teachers.
mm,
And not only in a business wise, because as an entrepreneur you feel lonely also a lot of time. For 10 years I've been working on my own, trying to find partnership, like, um but yet this is your greatest teacher if you accept to see it like this. It's a question of perspective also.
mhm.
You can think that you are a victim, or you can think that you are an actor of it. And so it's really all about the way you perceive things. But that's something also I like to work with my clients in the sessions. Make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love what you said about seasons of life. One of the biggest, I mean, I've had so many epiphanies in my life, but one of the
Mhm.
big epiphanies I had was during a 10-day silent retreat meditation with Vipassana meditation.
Mhm.
And one of the things that he constantly kept repeating over and over again as we sat in meditation, and you feel your legs going numb and you feel pain in your body and all this kind of stuff, is he would constantly just repeat arising, passing, arising, passing. And you just became aware of the arising and passing emotions and fears and thoughts and pains and sensations that you felt in your body. And you realize that all of them, none of them are permanent. All of them arise and pass. And so I love how you said that it's a season of your life. And this reminds me of challenging conversations that I had with my daughter as she was going through her, prepubescent teen years. You
Mhm.
can imagine 11 to 14, a very challenging time for a girl growing up.
Mhm.
And that was one of the big messages that I kept sharing with her was how much this is going to change. Like, you're not, this isn't right now, everything you're experiencing and dealing with is not
Yeah.
who you are for the rest of your life. It's going to change and shift. How is that lesson so important, and how have you seen people react to that lesson as you work with them personally?
Mm. Um, it feels like they're glowing again. A lot of them, and including myself, a lot of them were fell stuck in a rut um, because of their entourage, because of what's around them. A lot of times, people will not dare trying to find who they are because they are just too comfortable in their bubble. And and not saying that your family will prevent you to grow, but in certain circumstances and for certain people who are more sensitive to external circumstances, it's going to be harder. So what I noticed in the evolution of the people that I've been working with is this healthy detachment. This healthy detachment they um, try to also I will say, like, to cultivate with their surrounding. And so it's not only about your family or friends or partner, it's also about with your work, all your relationships, all the things that you're doing in your life, because you really need to find a way to detach yourself, your older self, in order to help your new self or the person that you were supposed to become uh, blooming. So, yes, it's all about this transformation, which is absolutely beautiful to witness. And that I actually also experienced myself. Once
Yeah.
again, everything that I'm doing in my sessions, this is things that I've experienced myself as a human being, as a person. And since I really felt like emotions really deeply, um, I think it really helps me to also voice out my experience to my clients and to help them get through this. But so yeah, it's all about detachment, and which is very hard. It can take years. It can take years, months. It really depends on your level of acceptance also.
But
And
it's a skill that we can learn.
it's a skill you can learn. It's a skill you can learn, absolutely, absolutely, and it comes with a lot of transformation, emotional transformation, and acceptance again, because there's a lot of suffering. There is a lot of grief that you have to do. We talked about in French. We talked about le deuil blanc, which means the white grief. So you have the grief when someone's dying, someone's dead, passed away. But you also have this grief that nobody talks about. This grief about your old relationship, your old self, like died. And so you have to make peace with it too, which
Mm.
is very hard because people are still alive. Because you are nostalgic, you have all these souvenirs, but to let it go of these things and to let it go of your past is really, really hard also for a lot of people. But yeah, it
So much gold in what you just shared there. I could talk about this for hours. This white grief. I love that concept. Never heard of it. I love that. I love how in different languages, right, we have better ways to
yeah.
describe certain things, right? But
Mm,
that's one of the things that I've talked about with my wife as we get
mm,
older,
mhm.
crossing into 50, is the older you get, the more grief you deal with.
Yeah.
Getting old, and I'm
Mm,
not old. I mean, at all. But with every year, there are new things that you grieve. Like as your kids grow up, you
mm,
grieve their childhood. Like our kids are moving out of the house and they're going to university, and there's grief there, right? Like every change, every transition, there's some grief that you feel.
mm,
There's sadness that you feel. And it doesn't get easier. This is the thing that I
mm,
want to share with the youth. So we need to develop these skills to be able to deal with grief, because it doesn't get better. It doesn't get easier. There isn't less grief as you get older. There's only more grief to experience.
mm,
And it's learning how to process and live as a human being with that grief. And I love how you talk about that detachment, And this will actually bring us into the entrepreneur conversation now, because that was a big lesson that I learned in relationships, was the need for contact and space. Right?
Mm,
In a healthy relationship, you
mhm,
need to have intimate contact, and you also need to have that space and detachment like you talk about.
mhm,
So
mm,
let's move to the business conversation. Let's talk about being an entrepreneur. Let's talk about specifically being a coach, because
mm,
there's something very unique about being a coach as an entrepreneur than just a regular entrepreneur. And that
mm,
is because being a coach is so personal and
mhm,
so intimate. You have these personal relationships that you create with people. Um, we typically, as coaches, I find a lot of coaches are emotional, a lot of coaches are empathic. We
mm,
feel very deeply. And so it can be very challenging when in entrepreneurship, sometimes you have to be cold. You get a
mm,
negative comment, you get a bad response, somebody doesn't respond to you positively, somebody says something mean on social media. How do you how have you managed that detachment as a coach, as an entrepreneur growing your business? Where has that, where have you experienced that? Can you share some experiences with that, and how did you move through that?
mm. It's a very good question. First of all, I will say that entrepreneurship and being a coach, entrepreneur, um, I really learned to listen. I really learned to listen to people, not only through my job but also through. I mean, I get a lot of advice. I like to work with people who are more experienced than me because I like to learn from others. I always say that everybody is a coach as someone else. You know, I did have a lot of mentors and coaches around me, which I love. But so yeah, I've learned to listen more than to react.
Mm.
And not saying that I've always been like this. At the beginning, when I was younger, I was really impatient. I was like, why are you criticizing my work? Like, I think I'm doing a good job. Because I started also to um, wrote. I had free ebooks that I published on Amazon Kindle, and I did receive, like, clapbacks, like people saying, "Oh, what are you saying? It's wrong. Like, I don't agree with what you're saying." Okay, cool. So, but I tend to react more than I was listening to what they were trying to say.
Mm.
So it's not about the noise. You really have to. You really have to stop thinking about it or focusing on that. It's just all about your intuition and also the art of listening to what people have to say in order for you to grow and to become a better coach or a better entrepreneur. And you're absolutely right when you say that being an entrepreneur and a coach is really unique because you have to be yourself more than any other professionals. It's really important. People comes to you for your uniqueness, for what you can bring to them. There's a lot of coaches who are doing exactly the same thing as me, but people will come to Maïwen Harfouche because they think that, yeah, I know that she's original in her way, and the way she's gonna help me is gonna be better, or it's more. It's all about also being yourself, because it's all about my personality, and we're all unique. You're unique, I'm unique, everybody's unique, right? And you need to show that. And but this is hard, but this is a thing that you need to develop as a coach and as an entrepreneur. Being yourself, having your own voice. That's the reason why from the beginning a lot of people were telling me, "My, you should work with that person, or you should do exactly the same thing as they're doing on social media. You'd see, you'll had more success." No, I didn't want to copy people or to let myself being influenced by them. Not saying that what they were doing was not great, but that was not what I wanted to do for myself. What I wanted to do for myself is to push myself to be myself and to stay creative. I didn't want to kill my creativity. I wanted just to, like, work hard and just think about what I wanted to do exactly, and just to be myself and not being biased. Biased, is
Mhm,
it the word?
mhm. I think so.
Sorry for my accent.
No, no, no.
Yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to stay raw, honestly myself, and yeah, that was
Yeah.
really important to me.
And so marketing and client acquisition obviously for coaches is one of the biggest challenges that we face. And I always in my trainings I always tell my coaches I say, you know what, the only reason that you're struggling with marketing is because you haven't learned the language of marketing. And I talk about marketing as a unique language that you have to learn, right? And so tell me a little bit about your experience learning marketing, how to put yourself out into the market, how to get clients. What's worked for you and what's been some of the most challenging lessons that you've learned?
So there's a real struggle of being seen, first of all, especially when you start in the business. But and something you need to know also about me, uh, say I started in Europe. I started in Paris, France, 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, and still today, coaching was not a thing. So I had to not only to start a business, but also to introduce the coaching industry in France, or especially in Paris.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had to create my business. I had to create myself as a professional, and to create also this job, which was not truly a thing. Being a coach is not today nowadays. Yes, it's very trendy. You do have a lot of coach in any areas, but back in the day, that was really hard. That was really hard. People were like, "What is this? Like, what is coaching exactly? I don't know. How can you help me?" So I really felt the struggle of being seen, and that's also the reason why I came here in Canada like 10 years later. But um, so yeah, and about marketing, yeah, I've tried a lot of things. Of course, I told you I hired people also to help me um, uh, building a website. To have really like a reputation, I wanted to build a reputation. I wanted to become like the language coach, the life coach that you can find in Paris, and it started to be honestly something because I had a lot of clients for the last 6 years. I was really thriving and successful in my business. So that's also a lot of people were like, now that it's working, why do you want to leave? Because
Hmm.
I just felt like I needed something else. I felt like I reached my full potential in France and I wanted to grow even more. And that's the reason why I came here. But so, yeah, marketing is not, I've never been truly, how can I say that? It never has been really easy for me to market my business. I let my clients doing it for me. Like when I'm going to a company, it's all about building reputation and network. And people were talking about me. Oh yeah, I've been working with her. She's amazing. So, and I had contracts like this. So I will say, before even talking about marketing, think about your image, reputation, the way you want to be perceived by others. And then from that, I started to create, content like ebooks, like a former podcast that I had, and it was called "How I Met America," because I wanted to talk about pop culture, American English, how I've learned to speak English with confidence, etc. So yeah, it's all about creating content, but from also when you start to being seen, when you start to be seen by people. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, if you could share with some of the coaches maybe listening, we have a lot of coaches that we work with that are transitioning
Mhm.
into coaching. So they come from
Mhm.
corporate and they're
Mhm.
transitioning, they're getting started, they're trying to find their first few clients, or they've got a few clients, but they want to get more consistent business. Is there any
Mhm.
advice that you would share to new and upcoming coaches who are just starting this career? Something that you wish you knew, you wish somebody had shown you or taught you or shared with you in your early stages of growing your business. What do you think is really important for them to know and understand?
Yes, definitely. First of all, you need to accept that you will make mistakes. You will try a lot of things. You will try to probably post YouTube videos and then going on TikTok, and you will try a lot of things to find your voice, find your way to be seen. And my biggest advice will be like, um, when you speak from honesty and integrity, people feel it. when you're just being yourself, when you don't try to copy people. Um, it's really important to stay yourself, to find your niche, also your purpose. Why? It's not about, oh, I want to become a coach. Yes, but what is the reason behind? Like, really, you need to ask yourself deep questions, uncomfortable questions, in order to understand why do you want to become a coach. And that will attract the right people also, so probably at the beginning, I remember I was all over the place. I had a lot of ideas because I'm very creative as a person. So I wanted to do a lot of things. I wanted to work with people and companies and doing workshops and team buildings. And then I wanted to work with one-on-one individual persons. I mean, that was really, I needed to focus, and I didn't have that focus at first because I didn't know where to start, and I probably didn't have the right resources. Again, I was starting in France. There were nothing about coaching, nothing at all. I got inspired by what I've seen in North America, what people were doing there. But so, yeah, finding your niche, finding your voice, finding the reason why, really, why do you want to become a coach? And what is your purpose? What do you want to bring to the world? What is the thing that you want to say? Because a lot of people will say, maybe if you want to work, I don't know, as a life coach specialized in confidence or life transitions like me, there's a lot of coach like us. But what is your um, uh, subject of expertise? What is your uniqueness behind? What can you bring exactly to others? That is really important. So speak to with from integrity, and when you show up with consistently, I mean, when you show up with consistency, even quietly, you build trust. You really build trust with people, and you have your public, you have your audience after that follows. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my biggest advice I will say to the new coaches.
Yeah, it's a journey, and again, we come back to like
Yeah,
acceptance of your journey, acceptance of what season you're at in your journey. I think a lot of us, we are impatient and we want quick results, right? We want
yeah,
successful business right away. Well, just show me what's the funnel and what's the strategy, and I'll just get clients. But unfortunately, entrepreneurship is a little bit more messy than that. I always say that business and entrepreneurship and marketing, it's a little bit science and a lot of art. It's a lot of creativity. I find it. I am an artist as well. I'm a theater school dropout. I'm a creator. I'm a writer. So for me, entrepreneurship is my artistic expression. And so for me, it's not scientific. It's not all about the numbers and the money. It really is about that artistic expression, and that's messy. It's not clean and easy.
true. I had a coach one day who told me, "My, don't build fast, build deep," and it really resonates. I was like, wow, that is really powerful. Don't build fast, build deep. And I think it's really true. It's really
Yeah.
true. And it takes time. And you will adapt yourself. You will, we talked about imposter syndrome. That is a true syndrome. That is a true feeling. Um, but that's part of it. That's part of being yourself. That's part of being the best version of yourself as a professional and as a coach also. And it means also that you care. When you adapt yourself, it means that you care. So yeah.
Very true. Mai, this has been great. This has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate it and enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
love meeting all the different types of coaches and
Mhm.
people in this industry, and I love what you're doing with your podcast. So, just tell everybody really quickly where they can connect with you, where they can find your podcast. We're going to have all the links in the description, obviously, as well. But just share with people where they can connect with you and hear a little bit more from you.
Sure. So my podcast, Me, Myself, and My 30s is available on Spotify, and also on the Apple app. So you can find my podcast there. And I also have a newsletter on LinkedIn, which is called A Word from Your Coach. I'm currently working on a website. But so yeah, for now, you can connect with me on LinkedIn and on Spotify. Me, Myself, and My 30s, my Spotify podcast. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Mai. This has been excellent. Again, thank you so much for being raw and authentic and for sharing your journey with us and the work that you do. I hope that it inspires lots of people. And I would definitely recommend you guys check out her podcast, especially if you're ever considering creating your own podcast. I think
Mm,
you might be inspired by what Maya is doing with hers as well. So definitely check that out. And like I said, if you're a coach, consultant, or trainer, and you need a little bit of help with that marketing and messaging so that you can help stand out in the marketplace and avoid imposter syndrome, like we talked about, do check out our Digital Mentors Compass workshop. It's free, it's interactive workshop. I'm going to lead you through a very specific questionnaire so to help you get crystal clear on your messaging, your uniqueness, and potentially your offer as well. So you can grab your free tickets there at compassworkshop.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your network. We are a growing podcast. We need your help. So if you enjoyed this, please like, share, download, do all those things, and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Mai, thank you again. This has
thank you
been a
so much.
conversation between two coaches.